I'd have the microphone and didn't know what to do with my hands, but then I had water and then I got very confused. Hello, I'm touching myself, that's weird. I'm having a lovely time. Hello, I'm Harriet, Dyer. Well, I'm just going to say a lot of what you've just said, really. And well, no, I guess it's my, so you can't see this because you're looking at me, but there's this man on the wall that just looks very judgmental. I'm so sorry for my choices. Anyway, yes, I'm Harriet Dyer, and I'm a comedian, and I'm going to sort of tell you my journey that ties in with this. At first, I was like, the ripple effect is when you've eaten far too much galaxy. Ripples, that's mine, and we're off. So I guess this is a story my partner said, do not say that, that's a terrible way to start. And I said, I'm sure they will love confectionery-based humour. Apparently not. I've got bipolar, and so I'll tell you the story. When I was growing up, when I was a young warthog, I felt like, looking back, I was in black and white and always had a cloud over my head, and I didn't really understand why. I just didn't really fit in with anyone else, and was so up and down. And now I know, that was bipolar. And skipping forward, I guess this is a story, something what happened that sums up bipolar really well. So this was when I was doing comedy. I had a gig. Where did I? Well, it doesn't matter where I had the gig. And I was getting the train, and it was a very hot day, so be careful today actually, because it's quite warm in it. And I had my backpack on, and my deodorant exploded in my bag, honest to God. And then this lady on the train thought I was acting suspiciously, but that's just my general demeanour. You already haven't known me for very long, and you already accept that. So this lady told tales, snitched on me, said that I was acting. So anyway, so I got taken off the train because they thought I was trying to blow up the train, when the only crime was all my clothes were covered in, well, they were completely white and covered in antiperspirant. But I got taken off the train, interrogated, and then after they realised I just had deodorant, they let me off, but they wouldn't let me back on the train, so they had to walk 6 miles. How Cornish do I sound? 6 miles. To the gig, and then my battery on my phone was dying. So I just sort of had to figure out where I was going, and I had a lot on anyway, and I just felt really bad, and I kept getting lost. And then I was like, right, when I get to the hotel, I'm going to kill myself. I've had enough. And then I got to the hotel, and then the lady at reception goes, oh, we've upgraded you. And I was like, really? She was like, and I was like, how much is this going to cost me? She was like, nothing. So I went from like a single bed, basic room, to like a honeymoon suite. And then I was like, this is the best day ever. And that's what it's like, constantly. So when I was young, this sums up, I think, me at school. I was trying to find a photo for this, but I can't. So you're just going to have to trust me. So when I was at school, for want of a better word, you know when there's like a fancy dress party, and even though this is going to sound awful because we're all kids, but you know when the girls will try to look sexy, but their version is like kids sexy. What? And so all my friends at school were there, all this business, and I think they went for like gothic sexy. They were just like foundation and anyway. And then I was with them, but dressed as David Hasselhoff from Baywatch. And anyway, and previously, previous Halloween, I dressed up as a werewolf. So my mum goes, oh, well, seeing as you're going as David Hasselhoff, you might as well stick on the hairy chest that you wore as a werewolf. So all the girls are like this, and I'm in the photo like that because my stick-on hairy chest was very itchy. So that's what I was like at school. And I was, I think, often when people, because I'm getting to trauma and stuff in a minute, and I think, that was strange, very strictly elasticated. I'm not wearing knickers, I don't know why I've told you that, I'm so sorry. It was good in the heat, it's a lot of information to take in. Imagine being in my head, it's just, and a lot of you won't remember this, but in 1996 there was this advert that used to go, potato waffles, they waffly versatile, they go on beef bangers, fish fingers, babs on, grilled and bacon fried meat, potato waffles, they're waffly versatile, and I've had that on a loop in my head since 1996. So everything else is just, anyway, focus. Do you know, during lockdown, how are you not focusing? Well, quickly. During lockdown, when I was doing all the Zoom gigs and stuff, people would message me that said they work for the NHS and that, and they were like, oh, we think you've clearly got ADHD. But I was like, please stop, I can't have anything else. The house is full. So I think I probably got that as well, to be honest. Where was I? Yes. And so a lot of people that have had a lot of trauma and that, you know, they've had awful parents and stuff like that, whereas my mum and dad were absolutely wonderful. Really good people, and I've got a brother, like 5 years younger than me. When I was 12, he was 7, and we bonded over this game. I always want to ask if you've heard of it, but you wouldn't have because I made it up. It's called the Pasty People, right? Being from Cornwall, we love our pasties. And we'd play it every Sunday, because God loves pastry, and I'd get in my brother's bed. The duvet was pastry, and then my brother would be, he'd either be beef skirt, potato, onion, swede, or if he's being facetious, salt, pepper, and then I would be the gristle. And then the object of the game, it's relevant, this story, the object of the game is that I have to move like that and capture the ingredients, and then, and I didn't think about it, back then we didn't have memory foam mattresses. This was old school spring beds, so it probably should have been an extreme sport. Does anyone have the email for the person who sorts out the Olympics? Probably. Imagine if one of you, yes, I have his email, his name's Robert. Or imagine if it was him, the man in the picture. Talking to the man. Okay. So I played it with my brother. My parents had this, I mean, I thought they had this perfect relationship, but, well, they didn't, because my dad was secretly gay, but that's another story. And I always say that my dad gets very upset because I'm telling his business. But, well, Papa, you left my mum for another man. Well, I'll tell you quick, no, Harriet, well, because when my dad was born, it was illegal to be gay. So imagine growing up, knowing that how you feel is so wrong that it's illegal. And in Cornwall, it's backwards at the bloody best of times, let alone when you're gay living on a farm in the late 40s. Why have I told you that? I do not know, but I was setting the scene. So Mum and Dad, when I was growing up, I thought they had this wonderful relationship. And I really wanted that. Like, so I was a very quirky child, and from a really young age I was like, I want to settle down. And because I was born with the soul of an 80-year-old, and I want a companion. And so I really wanted that, but back in the day, and I guess to a certain degree still now, if like girls wear pink and boys wear blue, and if you don't fit into that, then what the dickens are you? That's pretty much what it was back then, and I was pretty much born like this. Well, I mean, that would have been very uncomfortable for my poor mother, coming out with high tops. I'm coming out. So when I would, because I was adamant to find someone, but everyone just looked at me and go, absolutely not, I don't even know what you are, which was quite upsetting. And then something that was really upsetting as well was because I was desperate for companionship and no one was ever interested. Then when people were interested, I was so excited that I never really questioned it. And I had this, growing up I had this neighbour, we'll call him Gordon, but his real name is one of the other tank engines, and he was a couple of years older than me and like sexually curious, but I was only 12, I didn't really understand what was happening, and he was like, let's do this together, and I was like, well, I don't really know. The internet didn't even really exist then. It was only the, remember that? The dial-up. Everyone's like, what is this? It was well, that does not help, does it? It just means squawking at you like a bird. You should just say, hello bird, can I have the internet? Anyway, so he'd be like, let's do this, and I was all confused, and then here it is. No, it's pretty good. It's really upsetting, I'm accusing him. They're quite horrific. And it's quite a lot older. Don't shame it. Okay. And then one day, Gordon, that looks nice, a jacket potato. Remember that guy from he was 17 that ran himself over because of a jacket potato? I just find him very comforting. Him, obviously not so much. Because you can have it, no one gives a shit about jacket potato. Well, he does, he's got one for his lunch. So the neighbour said to me once, he goes, Gordon said, do you want to see something cool? I said, does a bear have tits in the woods? Absolutely. He goes, get in this wardrobe. I said, really? So I got in the wardrobe and we watched his sister and his sister's boyfriend at it. And I, again, didn't really understand what was happening, but I was quite traumatised. And I knew it wasn't right, because I thought, well, if it is right, I wouldn't be hiding in a wardrobe, would I? And so then I'd had enough of him, because Gordon invited me to a party and made me eat cat food in front of everyone, and I think we all have to draw a line somewhere. So then I was like, and then it wasn't as nice at home anymore, because my mum and dad were going through stuff, so I'd go off cycling to clear my head, which I think is really sad that a child would need to clear their head. And so where I grew up, there's like terrace houses and then concrete out the back where the kids used to play. So my mum was like, well, if you're going cycling, just stay there. But I had to go cycling with my brother, and he would just go round and round in a circle, get bored, and then throw himself onto the floor. And my mum would be watching from the window, and she'd be like, bloody hell, he's flopped himself off again. And I always used to laugh, because I thought, flopped himself off, it sounded very funny. Once we went to visit my nan, and then the taxi driver on the way back, I think he was on something, because he was driving like that, like not even looking at the road. And my mum goes, not know his highway code, my mum goes to my brother, Joe, get your strap on, Joe, put your strap on, like put his seatbelt, she was screaming, put your strap on. And that also made me laugh along the lines, similar, isn't it, of the flopped himself off. And I'll continue. So I would go cycling, and I started chatting to this guy, and he was 18, but he looked a lot younger. He actually looked like the guy from E17 that brought himself over with a jacket potato. And he was all the same interests. He was just so lovely. So, because I wanted companionship and all this, he was just great. Every single thing I said, he was like, yeah, no, that's the same for me as well. I was like, oh my God, kindred spirits. But it turned out he was grooming me and went on to abuse me. And he said that if I told anyone, he'd hurt my little brother. And I don't think it had the desired effect when I replied with, but he's already been killed 6 times this week by the bristle. And it was all that. I don't know where the PTSD and the trauma ends and the bipolar begins, really, because I think it all, but I do know that constantly being around people that are never open about what experiences they've been through and not being open and honest about mental health, because when I was younger, it just wasn't a thing. You were like, oh, so-and-so's had a little turn, or it was something like it wasn't ever spoken about. And then that's like a pressure cooker, which eventually causes bad decisions, and then which lead to even more trauma. And because I wasn't diagnosed with bipolar until 2015, when I was like in my 30s. And then when I got, oh my goodness, it was just, because I think as a society, for some reason, we're told that if you need to take something for your brain, then that's somehow failing as a human. But like, if you had a big fat gaping cyst, I mean that is quite the image, then you take something for that and wouldn't think anything of it, really. I don't think it's, and ironically enough, if I didn't take anything for my brain, I'm like, this is me as a very upstanding, together human, believe it or not. I'd be a blooming off my tits, whizzing around. Anyway, and so yes, it's changed my life really, and I think it's the only bad thing I'd say about my medication is that I see mice just scuttling on past all the time. But I think impending doom, mice, you've just got to weigh it up. And did you know that if you have a mouse in your house, a moose in your house, then you've got to take it 5 miles away, because otherwise it finds its way back. And my partner said to me, can you please stop making me take your imaginary mice on excursions? No, a lady come up to me at a gig once and said, oh, I see mice as well. And I said, oh, brilliant, what medication are you on? And she said, oh, none. I said, oh dear, well, you've got some serious problems then. I need to get that looked at. Yeah, and the one time I didn't take my medication recently, because I think it's the bipolar, I'm very impulsive, so sometimes I'll just be like, absolutely not, I don't need any medication, and then I'll just come off it, but not like you should, like if you're at the doctor will tell you to come off it gradually. I'm like, I don't need this. And then the last time I did that, I tried to throw myself out of a moving vehicle, so it's best to just stop us driving. Oh my God. And then my partner, I said to my partner, I said, a man, who'd have thought it? I said to my partner, and he said, I said that I thought I was like Daniel Craig and James Bond, trying to like manoeuvre, and he was like more like Mr. Bean, which I think is very upsetting. I don't know if people have said that I have a demeanour of Mr. Bean. It's upsetting. What is it? You know, he's doing very well. I know a comedian who, Harriet, don't put this on camera, well I do. I know a comedian whose girlfriend left him for Mr. Bean, as in the actor. Not as in the studios, Mr. Bean being Beanie in his life. Anyway, Harriet. So, relationships and that, when you've had a lot of abuse in your life, relationships are difficult because when you date and stuff, people are like, I want to know everything about you. And then you're like, okay, here's all the information. They're like, oh, sweet Jesus. Not that. And once I was seeing this guy and he said, by my bed, he goes, oh, what's that? And I was very open and honest. And I said, oh, that's my bipolar medication. And he goes, bipolar? Does that mean you're going to murder me in the night? And I said, well, it didn't mean that. I didn't really ever set out to talk about mental health really, like just comedians just tend to talk about what they know, and I know I'm very mental. So I didn't ever make a conscious decision. I was just I just always felt like I had spiders in my head really, and then I just felt like I had to talk about it, and then I didn't realise how cathartic it could be, and so I ended up doing a show about mental health at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. People were coming up to me, they were like, oh, I came to see a show with my sister and I've got mental health problems, and watching you be so open and talking about it, it's made me realise that like it's now opened up the conversation point with us two. And I was like, oh, that's good. And then at the time, well, not good that she's got mental health problems, you know, I hope she's alright and not seeing mice without medication. But so that was it. And then at the time, it was in the media a lot that comedians tend to be prone to mental health problems, like more so than other people in the arts, whilst I was at the Fringe Festival. So I was like, well, I'm not really ready for this to end, and well, comedians are mental, so if I did a show where other comedians talk about it, I'd always have people that wanted to do it. So I started doing a show in Manchester called Barking Tales, and that won like awards and stuff, so that was cool. And now I do a lot of stuff like this, and it's changed my life, because I guess my ripple effect is that things, because now I'm starting to do, like, my new Edinburgh show is about the abuse and stuff, and it's actually, believe it or not, very hilarious. And so my ripple effect is that I've made things that were the darkest times ever, and I thought I'd never be able to talk about them, and now, rippling across, it's like what I do, what I talk about, and in talking about it, I'm owning it, really. Oh goodness, I've waffled, but can I just tell you that this just very quickly, about once when I went counselling, and it was very early in the morning, and it was snowing, and I've walked in, and there was a thing on the floor, and I thought, that's a glove, that is, so I will bring it to the good people at the counselling place, and they'll go, what a lovely lady, I will now have 2 warmer hands, and I will give her extra good counselling. So I've picked it up, walked in, and everyone's looked at me horrified because I've picked up a dead rat. Isn't that really good? I'm going to leave you on that. Genuinely, like, I imagine it was a bit like, because I'm very like, this is what happened, abuse, but I'm so waffles. So it's a lot, but thank you ever so much, and